Well, Alan just talked about that war that we had last year. And when you look at traffic and you look at convective weather and you see what's happening around the country as we move through the day, of course this is Zulu time, so you got to subtract 5. But you'd look at that and you'd say, geez, how does anybody fly? But then when you think about it, you go, each one of those dots out there is about the size of New York City. And we're looking at it from a guide's eye view, so you're not seeing it how aircraft are stacked on top of one another. And you really would put this in perspective, you realize there's tremendous capacity out there. But what's happening is, in this war, we're not focused on being able to get together and work the capacity issues, work the modernization issues, because everybody is out there fighting each other over issues like user fees and passing costs onto general aviation. Now, it is a matter of fact that the aircraft or the airlines have the hub and spoke system, and that economic model drives certain things within the system.
Aero-TV is brought to you by...
Today, there is an affordable, high-performance, easy-to-own and easy-to-operate very light jet designed with you in mind. Far less expensive than any other twin-engine jet to buy, it is also the least expensive to own and operate. It is the Eclipse 500, the jet that's easy to buy, easy to fly, and fun to own. The jet for you.
Now, back to Aero-TV.
It's important that this entire industry keep its eye on the ball, and that ball is modernization. And so I'm going to spend a few minutes here talking about modernization as the key to our future. And what I want to cover in that area is the successes that we've had in 2007 with the bedrock elements of modernization, what critical decisions we have to make in this year, 2008, and finally, why there is such a need for urgency. So let's look at that first issue of successes. In 2007, the FAA, in conjunction with industry, started moving out. Required navigation performance, RNP approaches for general aviation finally hit the streets. The airlines are starting to become very good users of RNP. In addition, we had the ADS-B rule brought out so that we can go ahead and comment on it. Now, these two bedrock technologies are not so linked that you can't do one without the other. But the important thing is working together, these two technologies provide the capability that we can go and build upon the capacity that they will allow us to enhance to be able to truly modernize the system in an evolutionary form. We are not going to reach 2025 and turn on a switch and all of a sudden have a brand new system. That is not going to happen. And an evolutionary process will take place to transform this system. But let's talk about the first of those. Let's talk about RNP. Under traditional navigation methods, we had to go and sanitize airspace to be able to allow for the very imprecise nature of navigating from point to point with VORs. We had to clear airspace around obstacles, and we also had to make sure that between flight paths we cleared airspace, and when weather came in, we found that we couldn't use certain runways that underlie approach corridors for others because of the ambiguity in where the aircraft are. With RNP approaches, what happens? We fly, for lack of a better term, a very precise tube. So not only horizontally, but vertically, we're flying this tube down, and that precise navigation, that ability for the pilot to look inside the cockpit and tell where they're straying just a minute amount, opens up new runways out there and opens up capacity that is truly phenomenal. And we are very excited that general aviation has a capability to have these approaches. And if you look at what happened this year, we had 4 new approaches, 3 of them shown on this map and 1 out in Hawaii, 2 are in the Atlanta area and 1 in the eastern part of California. We have introduced these RNP approaches. In the coming years, you look at 2008, we start to expand, and then further beyond 2008, we start to promulgate more and more approaches. Now, this is very important, and the only thing that we are asking the FAA is to accelerate this process. Industry working with government to be able to get more and more approaches out there.
Aero-TV is brought to you by Cirrus aircraft have always been easy to fly. Now they're easier than ever to buy. A complete line of ownership programs gives you everything you need to purchase, trade, finance, lease, insure, and warranty your Cirrus. There's even an ownership program for non-pilots. The Cirrus Access Pilot can teach you how to fly or fly the plane for you. Find out more at www.cirrusdesign.com. Cirrus, for the love of flying. Now, back to Aero-TV.
But let me show you how important it is to be able to fly this. This is going into Peachtree DeKalb Airport down in Atlanta, and you see the towers off in the distance there. When the weather comes in, a lot of times the approach is not available. But if you look now, with the type of approach that we can do using RNP, we can go very, very close to towers, opens up a tremendous amount of airspace. Think about that just like you would a mountain. And if you put weather over this, the pilot's not going to see those towers, but relying on the instrumentation within the cockpit, they will be able to fly this very precise flight path and open up a tremendous amount of capability for us. RNP is a true building block, and it's a key to the future. With that, we have ADS-B. One of the important things for people to realize is when you work with the old radar infrastructure, the radar sweeps and sends out a beam. It hits the aircraft, the transponder sends a code back, but there is a large amount of airspace that there is ambiguity in that return. The farther the aircraft is from the radar, the less precise its position orientation. So airspace has to be built to provide for that ambiguity in there. Well, with ADS-B, we don't have that. Satellites give their position to the aircraft. The aircraft, being the important node in this process now, sends a signal down to the ground stations, and these ground sites that ADS-B is going to employ is about the size of a refrigerator. Infrastructure costs start to go down dramatically for the FAA to be able to go ahead and maintain that. Some of the radars will be able to be retired, and this technology is absolutely essential as we go forward. We are working with our partner associations to try to work with the FAA to be able to quantify the benefits that we can get out of this system to be able to build that capacity.